It will be 10 o'clock. It will be 0500 GMT at the sound of the Mountain Dew opening. Good evening. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Thank you for breathing hard. Thank you for all of your good humor and your fun times. This is cBas After Dark for May the 4th be with you, 2015. I've often said, I hate the May the 4th Star Wars Day thing. I think that's really stupid. I also hate Pi Day, 3.14, March the 14th. I mean, I feel like those are just kind of silly things for Facebook and YouTube and shit, and Twitter and so on, Instagram, whatever you have. I also feel like the ones I get behind are the ones involving some kind of food. So whether it's National Cheetos Day or National Pie Day, PIE, where you actually enjoy pie, that I like. Here's what's coming up. It's Monday. That means Nerd News Monday. I was sort of skimping out. I didn't have a ton of nerd news stories that I'd flagged, and I thought, well, heck, I just do something else. And then I thought, well, one of the things I'm kind of nerdy about is transportation systems, particularly planes, trains, and automobiles. And I thought, let's do a transit edition of the Nerd News, because there's a lot to cover. The $12,000 Uber ride, we'll talk about that. Why you should always know what kind of aircraft you are on. The new size of overhead bins. We're talking about standing people up and cramming more people in the plane, but they're also talking about expanding the size of the overhead bins in certain aircraft. How will they make you more comfortable in upcoming airplane rides? They're going to try and make illusions of airline comfort. They're going to try and distract you. We'll talk about 4 ways they will be trying to distract you into comfort on an airline flight. Let's face it, airline flights fucking suck these days. When to reboot your Dreamliner. In case you have a Boeing 787, you'll need to know. In the past week, news came out that you got to reboot that thing a lot more often than you thought. Don't just put it in hibernate mode. And also, the single worst food to eat on an airline flight. I may have covered that in the past couple of weeks here on the show. If you're a regular watcher, you may have heard me say this. Plus your calls and tweets. As you can see, the Twitter address is here on the screen right below me. It is at Sebastian Kuntz. If you'd like to call or text me, that'll happen right here. The phone number here, 310-776-5869. That's 310-776-KUNTZ. Let me turn up the microphone just a little bit because I can see that... my voice must resonate. All right, enough of that. Let's start with automobiles. Planes, trains, automobiles. Well, I have a whole bunch of plane stuff. We'll get to that. The train stuff, let's start with the train stuff maybe. There was a recent news story about a common sense, no-cost fix for train truck crashes. Now, if you follow train news at all, I'm not Sheldon Cooper quite like the train thing Sheldon Cooper has, but having spent a lot of time in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area of California, they have trains there. Trains are a really, really common method of transportation, and it was there where I learned that you know what? There's a lot of really cool trains out there, and that's when I figured out about Amtrak. And then I took an Amtrak ride between LA and San Francisco several times. That is as good as they make it sound. The Coast Starlight train is tremendous. Common sense solution for train truck crashes. For some reason, the link I had failed me, but let's see here. Rejected. Here we go. Let's look at the Sandusky Register newspaper, Raleigh, North Carolina. If you're interested in the source, it seems like it's a pretty legitimate source. Either way, this news story was on a lot of media agencies this week. It was a simple communication between truck and train operators, and it would be more effective. This simple communication between them would be more effective than a proposed $15 billion fix. This story from the AP. That's why it was in all these different places. And it's from March, so it's a couple months old. The railroad systems want 5 more years to stop train wrecks using a high-tech system costing more than $15 billion, but experts say it won't keep trains and trucks from colliding unless both industries use a common-sense solution, actually talking with each other before crossing into each other's territory. There was a truck-train crash in North Carolina that hurt 55 people. There have been several in California. And a lot of people say, especially if they're not educated about the system or the way it works, they say, well, they just need to make sure that roads and train tracks never cross. Yeah, guess what? You don't want to know the number of truck crossings or vehicle crossings on train tracks. it's in the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. Like there's a lot of places where all the train tracks in this country, and it boggles your mind the length of the train system we have, because much of it is freight and non-commuter. Even if you ride trains as a commuter, you're still not aware of all of the sort of freight line railroad tracks there are and stuff like that. It's really quite astounding, especially given the 21st century, right? This is the future. We feel like we're living in the future, and trains are kind of a yesteryear mode of transportation. But guess what? This study actually says that, this big expensive system that the train companies want to study for 5 more years really won't do as much as just communicating. No one warned the railroad in this crash in March in North Carolina. No one warned the railroad beforehand that a huge truckload could be in the way. As it turned out, no one had to. Sorry. It is crazy that this doesn't get coordinated with the railroad, said the acting director of highway safety from the National Transportation Safety Board. There is no federal law or regulation backed by stiff penalties that requires coordination between truck and train operators. This was found by the Associated Press after reviewing state and federal regulations and safety recommendations, talking to dozens of experts. About a third of states also don't require it, including North Carolina. There's no state or federal law that says someone has to call. And so, this is another factor that's causing trucks to get in the way of trains. I mean, here's the thing. You think about trucks, you think about trains, no big deal, right? Well, trains can't swerve, for one thing. And so that's why trains, in a large way, you get the sense that trains are blameless, holy creatures. There was a Mystery Science Theater movie where they talk about train safety. It was like a driver's ed movie. But it talks about trains specifically because Union Pacific, the train company, did a lot of media back in the 60s and 70s and stuff like that. They did a whole lot of media, film, educational films to show in driver's ed classes and stuff like that. God, it makes me want to show part of it here. And one of the jokes they make in this movie is trains are blameless, holy creatures, and should be avoided at all costs. Because, it's, oh God, what was the name of it? I think it was called like One Small Chance. Let me just type it in because, God, that is fucking golden. What's it called? One Last Chance? One Small Chance? MST3K. Last Clear Chance. I remember right before typing it in. Is it on YouTube at all by any chance? I found it. Now here's the problem. It's 20 minutes. So we're not going to watch the whole thing, but I'm going to dip into it just for a second. You're going to get an extra treat that I totally didn't plan on because this is freaking gold. And I highly encourage you to watch the whole thing. It's 20 minutes long. We won't watch the whole thing here, but it's just spectacular. I'll watch the beginning and we'll watch the end because those are the two good parts.
Your last clear chance for fantastic savings. That's what it is.
What? It's a Mike Nelson episode. Hopefully the audio's good enough.
The National Safety Council.
Jack Kevorkian throws a tailgating party.
Jack Kevorkian.
Oh, look, the Pepto-Bismol car.
Never let this happen to you. Don't make the mistake these people made. Don't die.
Well, when lilacs last in the dooryard bloom, though.
I suppose I should have gone in for a few minutes, but I just couldn't do it.
Because of the tear in the sprocket holes.
Burying someone from a family, someone cut down in the prime of life,
is one of the perks of this job.
Well, it's hard to take. I could say goodbye from here.
Goodbye!
Besides, I could do more good out on the road. I could keep trying to prevent other people from killing themselves in their cars.
Okay, so blah, 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 they talk about trains, right?
Okay, buy me soda.
Okay, fine. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
We'll watch just the last...
Anybody do any chores on this farm?
Last couple of minutes here. I swear to God, this will be fast, but this is worth watching.
There went Alan with his new driver's license, and Frank and Betty right behind, on as nice a summer day as you could wish for.
It's a good day to die.
Hi, clouds. Hi, trees. Say, you're a pretty cute road sign. Hi.
You know, I've got a feeling that one of these characters is about to see their own intestines.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, look, that's my brother in that truck. What are the chances of that happening? Hi, brother.
Hey, Cap never said anything about doing intensely stupid things.
Never wave while driving.
Never look backwards while driving forward.
Never under any circumstances drive with your butt cheeks.
My plan's working. You will die. Keep going.
Keep going.
Back at you.
Oh, shit.
Can I have your room?
Well, live and learn.
Say, nice butt.
Toro. I'm kidding.
Well, I'd tuck you in, but you're dead.
Gee, lady, sorry about your boyfriend. So, you want to have a drink? Maybe at the bar car over there. Oh,
Maybe it's the bar car.
sorry about that.
Oh, shit.
You know, son, 40% of all
Oh,
accidents.
shut up.
Would you identify this bucket full of your brother?
Why don't they look, Val? Tell me. Why don't they look?
You're deep, Ernie.
No, I didn't go in. Burying someone like young Frank Dixon is too hard to take.
Besides, I hate to shovel.
Maybe I could just slip over there for dessert.
My place was out on the road. Out on the road, I could at least try to keep other people from killing themselves in their cars.
Oh, you're doing a great job.
So if the next car I stop happens to be yours,
Set a place for me at your dinner table.
don't tell me you were only speeding a little, only breaking the law a little, only doing something a little bit wrong. Save that for somebody else, brother.
Oh my God, he snapped!
Too many little follies.
He's a bad cop on the loose.
One a little bit dead.
Now I'm going to grab a little bit of lunch.
Folks, we disavow anything to do with that officer. In fact, he was fired years ago.
That's right. Since his reign of terror, we've instituted a strict policy. Any officer appearing unannounced at a farmer's house will be severely reprimanded. Gargantuan cop.
People are dead, people are dying every day.
All right. Well, let me get back to me here because it's like reefer madness for train safety, says one person who texted me here. Thank you for that. I'm trying to recognize the number. It didn't come up as somebody I have listed, but yeah, anyway. They need bridges at all intersections is the other suggestion. That's obviously a good suggestion, right? Bridges or underpasses. That's the thing in California you see a lot. Either people go over or under the tracks. Wow, brought to you by Belch Beer. No, but the problem is, have you seen the 60 Minutes article that ran maybe 3, 4, 5 months ago? I guess it's only been 3 months ago or something. 60 Minutes did a thing about bridges, the quality, the state of American bridges, and yeah, they're in shitty condition. And a lot of times, there's no money to replace them or fix them up. Like it's pardon the expression, it's a train wreck as far as the conditions for bridges. So to build even like new things is going to be even more expensive, I feel like, and a problem. Oh, it's Kayak in Texas, saying hello. God, I love it when people, in fact, it looks like you tried to call, my phone didn't ring. My phone's actually got problems, so I should probably not have the number. Well, you can text me. Feel free to text me all you want. Text me all night long, and I will read your comments and your lovely words. All right, there's the train truck crash thing, just to bring it to your attention. The one I wanted to bring to you now, flying can suck more. No, should we do cars last? What was the one on cars? Oh no, I remember the one on cars. It was the one about Uber, and its $12,000 ride. This is not the search I wanted. Is it? I thought not. There's an article about, yes, a passenger was charged $12,000 for a ride with Uber. Let's take a look at this article because holy fucking shit, dude. Like, are you serious? You're going to go $12,000 $1,000 worth of traveling on an Uber ride. In case you've been living under a rock and you don't know, Uber is that thing where you literally use your phone, you dial up, or basically use an app to summon a car, like a taxi, only better than a taxi. It's usually just a regular person driving. Maybe they have insurance, maybe they don't. There's some issues involving both the management of these ride-sharing agencies as well as the actual regulations. I think some have been there have been accusations of certain sexual assaults or certain bad experiences in that way. But this is not like that. This is Uber trying to charge a passenger $12,000 for her car ride from hell. $12,142.49 to be exact. We made a fare correction, says the app. Inefficient route. Previous charge, $4,109. Balance due, $12,142. New total, $16,251. All right, let's look at the story here. Gothamist talks about the story of a woman who got a ride in an Uber, took the car ride from hell from Williamsburg to Midtown East. If you don't know New York, I sure don't. That's something specific to them. Sure, surge pricing was in effect, they say, but she didn't know it was going to be platinum surge pricing. Her trouble started when the Uber driver just sat there for a little bit, maybe 5 minutes or so at the beginning of the ride. His behavior allegedly grew more suspect as her ride continued. He repeatedly missed a turn, then ended up reversing down an on-ramp, cutting across lanes. Instead of bailing, she let him take her all the way to Manhattan. She had her charity bar crawl to get to, and the sunk cost fallacy exists. I don't know what that is. But contacted Uber to complain about how long a ride her was and how scary it was. The company agreed the route for her 35-minute ride was inefficient and agreed to refund her $15 of her $56 bill. And then she agreed, but her credit card had expired between her ride and the time the refund was going to be issued. That's when the billing really got weird. It somehow turned to a $16,000 charge. She checked her credit cards. There was no charge. She emailed them numerous times, and they kept giving me the runaround. Couldn't get an explanation. She gave them a new card number, meaning she'd be out $15. She's like, I don't know if I'll use it again. Maybe I'll do it if I have someone else's credit card. The company has since informed the Gothamist blog that they are refunding the entire cost of her ride, which sounds like the least they can do. So a lot of people hail this Uber. What's the other one called? There's another one besides Uber that I can't think of the name of it, but it's also, this is being hailed as kind of, these taxi companies that have a stranglehold on transit in some cities, big cities like San Francisco, where I came from. And this is kind of throwing a wrench into the monkey, what am I trying to say? They're trying to throw a monkey wrench into the gears of the system and messing things up for these companies that kind of have a stranglehold, as I said. So, but on the other hand, there are issues like a $16,000 charge trying to be charged to your credit card, and that's not ideal either. Okay, let's go to the airplanes. I had all kinds of great stuff planned for the airplanes. How can an airplane flight suck more? I think everybody knows that airplanes, certainly flying these days, is pretty much it's not fun. The time was when, flying used to be fun. Like I remember as a kid being so excited to get on an airline flight, even in coach. The seatbelt was cool. The safety demonstration, I was fucking fascinated by the safety demonstration. Now they have a little seatbelt right there that they demonstrate for you. It didn't occur to me how stupid that was. It didn't occur to me that they speak to you like you're mentally ill. You put the life jacket on over your head through this hole, and it's like, okay, really. And the air hole in the plane, oxygen comes down, and you breathe. Many comedians have made fun. I think I stole that bit from Billy Connolly. George Carlin talks about the bit in the airline safety lecture where they say, apply your oxygen mask to your face first, and then help the children next to you. George Carlin goes, I did not need to be told that. In fact, I'll probably be too busy screaming to help any children at all. That's fucking genius. But let's go on. Let us see how we could be flying in years to come. And frankly, if you're at all into airline flights, just turn off the broadcast now, because holy fucking shit, this is going to get ugly. This is a look at an actual seating arrangement. This is just at the beginning of the article here. And there's A350. And that is from a bygone era, I guess. The crammed airline passengers are duking it out for minimal reprieve on airplanes, and it's not stopping the industry from making it worse. This year, Airbus unveiled a new seat configuration coming in 2017 that would place 11 seats per row in the economy section. Is that this here? No. Oh, yes. Here's the snap of the new plan. So you get 3 on the left, 3 on the right, 5 in the middle. You thought you hated being in the middle seat here or here. Imagine being in the middle seat there. There's actually 3 middle seats to make you miserable. And they have it all lit with pillows there to make it look nicer, but I think we all know that's fucking horseshit. Less flattering shots of the setup taken by journalists. This is just a mock-up, but that's what it'll be like. 11 abreast in the A380, 353 configuration. There's a person sitting in it, looking really uncomfortable, by the way, looking like they're spilling out into the seat next to them. I can tell you that I will never fly with the airline that dares to choose that option. Looks like the airline flyer is physically sitting in the wall. That's sort of true. And that's the much coveted window seat, by the way, right? I've always been an aisle seat person because I like to be able to get up and go to the bathroom freely, even if it means somebody getting up across me, like whatever. I don't really give a shit about looking out the window at all. The hope is to convince more airlines to buy this plane by lowering the overall cost to fly it. Lufthansa, Air France, KLM, Virgin have shied away from purchasing the double-deck wide-body A380 after the declining economy put a damper on grand visions of equipping the planes with casinos, double beds, and showers. Can you imagine? I don't know. Let's say they're willing to sacrifice some comfort for cheaper seats in some places like China and Southeast Asia, they say. When you get to 80 inches, even in those countries, you're barely touching shoulder to shoulder, according to Airbus. Yeah, of course Airbus is going to say that. That logic hasn't yet convinced Emirates, the biggest buyer of A380s. Other airlines have fewer qualms. Boeing's 737 MAX, which starts in 2017, will have 18% more seating. Ryanair's budget version will have 200 seats. And I think I even saw, what was the article I saw where it was actually standing on an airplane. Airline standing seat. There we go. Let's just look at that. Because can you imagine this business? The economy airplane seats of the future. Let's look at this article from Gizmodo. Economy airline seats of the future will be more like first class, they say. Okay, well, that didn't look like it, but let's just hit this video and see what we get. What is this, a long video? 220. All right, we'll just see. The IntelliCabin. Things are looking up. Not if you have to stand up, I'll tell you what. Now that you stop with the animation and show us the seats. Okay, in-flight video screens in front of you. It looks like only 3 seats per row, or 4 seats per row, including the aisle. Power for all seats, so you can plug your laptop in, charge your phone. It's like Amtrak in that way. I like Amtrak because there's plugs everywhere on Amtrak trains. One-touch control for all cabin functionality. Does that mean you can fly the plane from seat C7 or A8A, whatever? Dimmable window control. That's pretty badass. Kind of like Knight Rider. Mood lighting control. Sets the cabin ambience. All right, whatever. Virgin's already doing that. More enjoyable flight, if you say so. One-touch seat control for ease of cleaning. All right. More leg room by eliminating power boxes under seats. Power management for the entire cabin. Ow. All right, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we get the idea, right? Bigger seats, nice. All those videos make it look really nice. IntelliCabin. The system delivers power to each seat. Okay. Oh, here we go. The seat's going to get cushier, but you'll never, ever get legroom like that in economy. Seats spacing front to back, called pitch, is critical to revenue. That was the thing. In fact, my mom told me about that. She's like, something about they're going to, increase the number of seats on airplanes by decreasing the amount of space you have. Do you know anybody who's getting thinner? And I'm like, Mom, they're not going to shrink the width. They're going to shrink how far away the seat and the leg room, right? They're going to shrink the leg room, how far away the seat in front of you is. That's how they're going to get more rows of seats. They're not going to put 4, like that's not how it's going to work. And she's like, oh, I didn't even think of that. So yeah, that what they call pitch apparently is going to be the key. What I really like, actually what I really hate though, is this image of the guy kind of half standing up in that, whatever the fuck that is. It looks like a medieval torture device. Only for the lawsuits from the fat people who can't fit in them. Well, that would probably be a thing too. But, I mean, would you sit in this? It's not even sitting. Standing seat suggested. But let's look at this from CNN here. Let's visit this page really fast and just see what this says. This from July 10th last year. So this is not exactly new. Vertical passenger seat. The standing cabin may be the next big cost-cutting move. Motivation to lower the cost of air travel to a level competitive with buses and trains. I will say this. I think a lot of people who can afford to fly, medium to rich people, like that it's a class above buses and trains. Because let's face it, trains are an asterisk because you can get coach or you can get first class on trains. Buses are pretty much buses, though. And you don't want to be on a plane with the people that you're on a bus with. You just don't. For a million reasons. One of the reasons you don't want people to be able to use their cell phone talking on the plane the entire time. I mean, seriously, you don't want that. Even when they were talking about legalizing, you can use your phones for their functionality, but talking on phones, god damn, imagine that. Here's the thing. Oh, I'm going to admit something here I'm going to admit something. Fortunately, it's no longer true, so I don't think I can be prosecuted anymore. On trains, people do this business where they're talking on the phone. And in fact, they talk kind of leaning up against the window. And so what happens when you're doing that is your voice reflects all the way up. The person 10 seats away is hearing every word you make, every burp you burp, every breath you take. They'll be watching you. Now, they can hear every word because you're reflecting up the wall of the thing and your phone is right here and it gets louder, And people don't have a good sense of how to talk on a cell phone properly anyway. The proper way to talk on a cell phone is to lower your voice because the less loud you talk, the more your microphone goes looking for the voice, right? I know a little bit about this from my radio work, but mostly I know it from just, playing with cell phones and realizing that the quieter you talk, the better you're heard. And if you actually lower your voice a little bit, and the more you shout, paradoxically, the worse you get heard. It was the same when my grandmother had, God rest her soul, she's dead now, and I don't believe in God, but she had these hearing aids, and she had this little microphone thing she would carry around, and she would literally be like holding a mic out to people to be able to hear them at Thanksgiving dinner and stuff. She was doing this the whole time. But strangely, that brought me closer to grandma because as a news radio reporter, I was always having headphones and a microphone that I'm sticking in people's faces. So I knew how to talk to grandma. You lower your voice and you talk close to the mic. You don't shout into the mic. If she's not hearing you, don't say it louder. That's not going to help. That's not going to help. And in fact, it's going to make it worse because then what's happening is you're what we call pegging the needle in the radio. And you're over-modulating the audio. The device cannot process the sound that it's hearing because it's too loud. And these digital devices are enormously sensitive to that sort of thing. So I feel like people don't get how to talk on a cell phone properly. And when they're on a and the other problem they have is that side tone. Do you know what side tone is? I'll teach you a little bit of nerd phone company lingo. Side tone is the amount of your own voice that comes back in the earpiece on a regular phone, right? When you're talking on a regular old-fashioned corded phone attached to the wall, you can hear your own voice coming through, just a certain amount. It's louder than the person you're talking to, but there's a measurement to it. How much side tone is something that was very, very important to these phone company engineers. I once took a psychology class taught by a Bell Labs engineer, and I learned people's voice just naturally gets louder. So what did cBas do? There are devices. Oh yes, there are devices that create invisible waves, invisible beams, basically noise. They squelch the ability for your phone to talk to the tower. They just throw out trash, as the engineers I worked with in radio called it. They literally interrupt the signal between the cell phone and the tower. Now, people who are on their phone and don't give a shit, and they just, they want to talk as loud as they want to talk, and blah, 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 and they go on and on and on. They do not stop talking. They do not stop to breathe. They do not stop to take a beverage. They just keep going and going and going. The only way to stop them. I've seen people tap them on the shoulder and ask them to quiet down. They're just like, I can't believe I'm being asked to quiet down. What is this? What is this? What is wrong with these people? They get mad about being told to be quiet. The only way to stop them is to hit my little secret button, which I no longer have, but it's a device that will stop not just their cell phone. It turns off my cell phone too. Whenever people would find out I had the cell phone jammer, they were like, "Ooh, this is exciting!" And I would always, like, this one guy I used to work with was always like, "Dude, do it, do it." He got all excited. He's like, "Do it." And he would always be like, he would want to see me interrupt somebody's phone call, like in public and stuff. I'm like, no, this power must only be used for good, not evil. But every so often I would do it. And he'd be like, he thought it was so cool. But there is no more satisfying feeling than, blah, 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 blah. Hello? And then they look at their phone. First thing they always do is hit redial. They'll hit redial again. They cannot fathom a world where their cell phone does not work every single second of the day, and they cannot talk as loud as they want, any place they want. This sense of entitlement we're all familiar with. So yeah, and you're in a double-decker train, right? So I'm sitting upstairs looking down at this person, disrupting the entire train car. And I'm just like, yeah, bitch, figure out how to work your phone. And then they'd finally put their phone away and start reading a book or a newspaper or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, bitch. And here's the thing. It usually only took a good couple of minutes of interruption. Like I would, 2-3 minutes max. For one thing, it shuts off my phone. I don't want to be offline. I like knowing about my, I like having my internet feed constantly there. So I don't like using it for a million reasons. And it interrupts other people's phone who are being courteous. They are in a public place and they know it, and they're trying to not be disruptive. But one of the other ways flying can suck more, that would be using your cell phone on the airplane. All right, we're about halfway done. Let's look at some of the other things. Why should you always know what kind of airplane you're on? Let's look at this from the Huffington Post. The Huffington Post. Let's see here. Well, again, my links are not working. Why you should always know. Why can I not type? Always know what kind of plane you're on. Here we go. You should always know the kind of plane you're on. I wanted the one from Huffington Post, not smartertravel.com, because I've never heard of smartertravel.com. And I don't like going to websites that I've never seen before. All right, Huffington Post travel from May the 5th. No, wait, this is not from, that's today's date, or tomorrow's date. By the way, yes, have a happy Cinco de Mayo. As long as you're having a happy Cinco de Mayo, realize no one in Mexico gives a shit about Cinco de Mayo. Okay. This article from 4/15, so 2 weeks ago. The important time to get to know your plane is when you're selecting the flight and buying a ticket. Other factors like noise or smoothness are also inherent to the plane model. Thank you, no. Others depend on how each airline outfits its planes. Takeoffs can be noisy, but once you're at cruising altitude, the noise in most of the plane results from turbulent airflow, not the engines. Jet noise problems are most severe in airplanes with rear-mounted engines, where noise in the last few rows can be really bad. Avoid seats far to the rear in A380s and 787s, the last 3 or 4 rows in MD-80s and MD-90s especially. If you don't give a shit about airplanes, you're probably really bored, so I'll try to make through this fast. In general, the bigger the plane, the less bumpy the trip. Jumbo jets are like big cruise ships. They're pretty smooth even in rough air. And also, the lower cabin altitudes and higher humidity are in new generations of airplanes. And that higher humidity thing is something I noticed. You ever notice you get kind of dry? Because for one thing, the air is kind of always flowing inside. But the other thing is it's just dry air, it feels like. And I get very dried out. Seating, legroom, overhead bin space, entertainment. There's a million reasons why you should want to know. Also, Wi-Fi. That's the other thing. Wi-Fi is kind of becoming a more and more important way for airlines to easily distract their passengers from the pain of fucking traveling. Now, much of the pain we have in traveling comes from security, like having to take your belt off, having to take your shoes off, having to put everything with the battery in its own separate bin, and then reassemble your shit on the other side of the thing. That's a train wreck. The revolting people you're usually near are a train wreck. The service, sometimes you get happy flight attendants. Sometimes you get really happy flight attendants, and that can sort of be a less is more thing too. But certainly you can get asshole flight attendants or bitchy flight attendants. And there's all kinds of reasons there as well. But one of the easiest ways, have Wi-Fi on the plane. That might be easier said than done. I just sort of said it with a snap of a finger. But I mean, if they can do it on Southwest in many of their newer 737s, they can do it in just about any airplane they can. And everybody's got one of these now. Almost everybody has a phone that is Wi-Fi compatible and will be able to distract them in one way or another for their flight. If they just want to have their music that's sort of on their iPod, that's one thing. But if they want to listen to Pandora, great. If they want to, Southwest has a great one where you can literally watch TV, like bunches of channels, Animal Planet and stuff on your phone, and you can watch that TV free. If you want the full web, you might have to pay $5. But if you're okay with just watching a couple hours of Animal Planet or a couple hours of fucking VH1 Rock the Bret Michaels show, whatever the hell that shit is, you're golden, and it's free as far as having already paid your airplane ticket. What's one of the upsides of using a train instead of an airplane? The fact that your phone works the entire time, including that first 10,000 feet and the last 10,000 feet. I will always choose trains over airplanes for the future rest of my life, just because, as long as it's an option, obviously. It doesn't go everywhere. Can't take a train to Mexico. When I went to Mexico for a year, I quickly learned that there is no rail system in the nation of Mexico, at least not for passengers. Some of my students did tell me there is some train infrastructure for things like freight, but there is no passenger train system. Anyway, this other article I found I really liked, the 4 ways in the future that they're going to try and distract you. Let's take a look at this. That's the one we had. Here we go. That's the one coming up. Come on, bitch. Where was that's my email involving my, well, you just saw a look at who I've got my job interview with coming up. Okay, the 4 ways the aviation industry hopes to distract you from Cabin Crush. Is that game where people play with candy? No, that's Candy Crush. All right. I have to reestablish my keyboard here. Okay. Economy passengers dread the crowded cabins, so how are we going to do it? In-flight entertainment is way number 1. In-flight entertainment systems are getting upgrades. PXCom from France is betting we'll be making reservations for meals, shows, and other activities, booking tickets before we land to skip the long lines. It has partnered with Lufthansa Systems Board Connect wireless in-flight entertainment system to let you do whatever you want on your gadget. The companies also want us to wave goodbye to tired airline touchscreens that aren't as touch-friendly as our own handhelds. That was the other thing. A lot of airlines spent a lot of money for a long time putting screens into the seat back in front of you. Think of the cost of that, when now we've evolved to the point where some of us have even more than one device, whether it's a little laptop, whether it's a little tablet, whether it's their phone. Usually we come armed with our own shit and don't need a screen in front of us, and that's going to cut costs enormously. If you can just have a regular seat in front of you and be entertained on your own device, for one thing, you don't have to touch other people's grody places, and then I think we're all more comfortable with our own devices configured the way we like, rather than using something that's kind of public. Board Connect revealed a seatback frame that lets airlines install latest generation tablets faster than we can change a light bulb. So, well, they're doing it. In-flight Wi-Fi, we love surfing the web at 30,000 feet, but connectivity can be spotty, says this article. To the rescue, Viasat. The service already powers the fastest Wi-Fi in the sky on JetBlue and United. The company is going global by launching new satellites and partnering with more satellite providers. Other in-flight connectivity powerhouses are zoning in to compete. The race is on to give us the same Wi-Fi experience in the air that we enjoy on the ground, uninterrupted and everywhere we fly. So yeah, in case you didn't know, the Wi-Fi in the air does not reflect down to the ground. It goes up with a satellite to the sky. And I think that's cool. But check these out. The Panasonic Jazz seat. Not every economy class seat we saw came with narrow armrests, slim cushions, and lots of uncomfortable company. Panasonic is manufacturing with BE Aerospace and designers to develop a seat worthy of this high-tech label. Its new Jazz seat isn't just comfortable, it's pretty darn handy. It features custom stands for smartphones and tablets with inductive charging to power them in flight, a personal reading light with mood lighting options, and stands to store our precious electronic companions. So, like a place to put, you can see the picture here, a place to put your tablet while your tray is down, so you don't have to like move when you get a meal. Not that we have meals anymore. Zodiac Aerospace Fusio. What the fuck? Okay, premium seats. Feeling the space crunch too. Some airlines are eliminating first class and adding more seats in business class. This private VIP cabin is an elegant fix for those troubled by the trend. It gives airlines what they want, a way that takes up less cabin space, but it's loaded with features. It even features a new seat setting called Zero Gravity, which gives the illusion of floating in space. I wonder what that feels like. It's likely airlines will be banking on this kind of thing as they make it. It's worked for them in the past. In 1992, when Emirates was the first to install personal screens on every seat, they recorded a 20% increase in overall customer satisfaction. So, okay, they're literally playing with zero gravity on some airplanes to try and distract you from how miserable the flying experience is. And miserable it is, let's face it. Hey, let's talk about some of that misery. If you're on one of the nice new airplanes, the Dreamliner, as my friend likes to call it, the Boeing Dreamliner 787, it's actually called the Dreamliner. A bit of news came out this week, and holy fucking shit, if you don't reboot the system every so often, it shuts down. Let's look at the article here because, oh my God. FAA finds the Boeing Dreamliner could lose all power and issues a maintenance mandate. That's basically how often to reboot your machine. The battery fire prompted the worldwide grounding of all Dreamliners in 2013. Headaches continue. The FAA, let's see, let's look at the date on this just to make sure. Okay, May 2nd. This is from this past Saturday. A repetitive maintenance task. This model of airliners has issues with its power supply. Specifically, the FAA explained, testing revealed 787s could lose all electrical power after being continuously powered for 248 days. It's a problem that, left unchecked, would leave a crew unable to control the airplane. Holy fucking shit. The order took effect immediately. They say there's no good reason to delay the decision. Now, think about it. How often do you reboot your machine? I mean, all the way to the ground. If you're a savvy computer user, you do it once every day, maybe once every couple of days. Certainly, whenever there's a problem, one of the things you do is restart the machine. But, I don't sense that maybe airplanes are always shut down. It seems like they ought to be shut down at the end. Planes don't always fly in the midnight to 6 a.m. time frame unless they're like a red-eye overnight flight. Certainly, these bigger, newer planes might. Imagine being on the airplane and all the power goes out. If you're on a takeoff or if you're on a landing because you hit 247 hours and 58 minutes and then you take off and then your plane goes dead because you didn't reboot it at the right time. This article says that the FAA has found a risk to the flying public justifies waiving notice and comment. In other words, oftentimes these FAA discoveries give time for the airlines to comment, and they gives them a time frame in which to implement the changes or these recommendations or whatever. This skips all that. The maintenance mandate was characterized as temporary until software is developed to resolve the problem. They didn't figure this out. I mean, I know this is kind of a obvious kind of Jay Leno kind of thing to say, but like they didn't figure out that if you leave the plane on for a certain number of hours, I don't know. Marking only the latest setback, the American manufacturer has boasted the Dreamliner would save money on fuel because its body consists of lightweight composite materials. Also, the new aircraft featured passenger comforts such as bigger windows, larger overhead bins, and better ventilation. They had all kinds of problems with this thing, and those cases prompted the grounding of the 787 fleet. One of them was the crash, right? 2 instances of overheating batteries on a Japan Airlines plane in Boston and an all Nippon Airways jet in Japan. So I guess those weren't crashes, but like battery fires. And that prompted the FAA to ground all of the Dreamliners, so they had to demonstrate that their batteries are is safe and in compliance. As Kayak says, yeah, it's holy shit, it's a miracle one of them has not fallen out of the sky. And I agree, it is a miracle, especially given that, you know, we've had, I think airline safety is better now than it ever has been, but look at these problems. In January of last year, reports of smoke on a Dreamliner at Tokyo's Narita Airport. There was an incident, Boeing said, appeared to involve the venting of a single battery cell. NTSB then said 11 months later, blaming the battery problem on the overheating from an electrical short circuit may have been caused by, oh dear, did not mean to do that. Hold on, back to my story. 11 months later, they blamed the battery problem on the overheating from an electrical short circuit that may have been caused by the manufacturing defects and allegedly unsatisfactory oversight of the manufacturing process. So yeah, anytime you can have batteries, you can have fires. Like, I mean, we've learned this. One of the new things that came out was, what was it? Let's just look at that thing from people that make the electric car, Tesla. The Tesla wall battery. Have you seen this thing? They're saying it's kind of the future of power management in homes. Like, it's not just a uninterruptible power supply. This is kind of like going to be the future of power in homes, kind of cycling power. All right. Okay, the home battery. NPR.org. That's a good enough source for me. I mean, the Tesla people are the ones working on bigger batteries because of their cars. That is a pretty sexy car, by the way. In an ambitious bid to move beyond the electric car market, Tesla says it's going to start selling large batteries to let homeowners store electricity. Starting at $3,000, the Powerwall home battery has been unveiled in a move both highly anticipated and the subject of a lot of speculation. With a sleek surface and a depth of only about 7 inches, the Powerwall can be mounted on a garage or another surface. They have this handy fusion. They're talking about using solar power, blah, blah, blah. The unit is geared toward homeowners who want to do any combination of 3 things. Store backup power in case of power failure, minimize peak time of the utility's electricity, and get off the commercial power grid entirely. Now, if you know anything about solar, I happen to be kind of a solar geek. I don't have like solar panels on where I live or anything like that, but I do have a solar-powered laptop case. And the way you power things is not by plugging it directly into the solar panel like your laptop. You charge a battery with the solar cells, and then you use the battery to charge your device or power whatever. So an important big battery is kind of a breakthrough for solar technology, even though it's not a change in solar cells, and it's not really being hailed as a solar breakthrough. But if you can get a big enough battery that you can store solar power with, you know, one of the problems with solar power is a cloudy day, right? If you were dependent solely on solar power with no battery, a cloudy day means you're in the dark for a day. Well, this is kind of the bridge that would allow you to conceivably, you know, survive a couple of cloudy days, or, you know, several weeks of cloudy days, depending on where you live, and still be able to, you know, have electricity free, essentially. Now, is it free? No. A lot of places are, you know, requiring surcharges and taxing homeowners with solar energy systems. And the reason for that, just back to me for a second, they're saying solar energy users have an unfair advantage over people who don't have solar panels. Yeah, it's because they invested $35,000 fucking dollars on solar panels on their house. Like, that is a backwards ass, really offensive thing that many politicians and many sort of municipalities and states are doing, is that they're kind of unfairly taxing, or, you know, because here this thing, solar panels on homes is becoming a big deal now. It's becoming more and more economical, but when you do it, it still is like buying a car. You know, it's $35,000-$40,000 if you buy it outright. Now, many of these companies are trying to soften that blow with a leasing plan. In the same way you would lease it, you pay like a mortgage, it kind of. You pay a little mortgage on the solar panels, and in 10 years it's paid for. Well, that's cool, except for if you try to sell your house before it's paid off, because then the person buying the house is inheriting this solar mortgage too. And there have been people who are buying houses completely scared off by, what the fuck is that? I don't understand how that works. I'm not paying for that. I don't even know. And that's been a news story that I've covered here in the past. But it's like, you got to be careful with solar in a lot of ways, because a lot of people who, are in the coal, oil, and gas industry don't want solar to succeed. And, they're working on ways of trying to sabotage it in one way or another. And one of the ways in which I just have to look up now, let me just share the screen with you here. But that solar battery thing from Elon Musk was a really cool thing. Let's just type in news.google.com. Let's do solar energy unfair advantage. See if I can come up with televised poverty porn. What the hell? I like that headline, televised poverty porn. Okay, here's a solar power portal from just a couple of days ago. Now, this is not a site I've gone to before, and again, I don't like doing that live on the air, but let's do unfair advantage. Here we go. This is a UK story. It's next will be a photon tax on your oxygen bill. God, that's genius, Kayak. I love that comment. The energy section of the new manifesto reads like a waste ground for renewable energies, claiming that renewable energies have enjoyed an unfair advantage over traditional fuels, while criticizing a supposed lack of reliability and value for money. So that's one thing they're saying. It's not a good value for your money to buy solar panels. Their supposed lack of reliability, again, that's solved with the right battery. And they have an unfair advantage over traditional fuels because it's the sun. You don't have to pay for it. And it's like, that is so fucking wrong in so many ways. I just can't even tell you. I can't quite put my finger on... is it this one? Utility regulators meetings with APS? I don't think this involves solar energy at all. Let's look up the word solar. Oops, ding. Hey, thank you, advertiser. And thank you, news site, for not giving me all of the text without filling out a goddamn survey. Whatever. It's about time to wrap up. Let's see. I had one more story here I wanted to bring, and I can't remember quite what it was. Let's see. Oh, yes. We'll finish with this. What's the worst food to eat on an airline? Actually, there was one thing about the bigger airplane bins. Oh, yeah. Boeing is actually going to make airplane bins 50% bigger. And that one I wanted to bring. This from Wired magazine. And a good article this is. It's raining outside, and that is a really loud rain sound. It's like pouring rain where I am. Okay. Back to this article, and then we'll get to the worst food. So consider what the worst food is to eat on an airline. Let's look at Wired magazine. Their new overhead bins will hold 50% more bags. And there's a fire on my screen. Thank you, advertiser. There they are. There's the overhead bins. Were they going to be closer to our heads? I don't know. Yes, the bag. The bag you refuse to check because it means forking over another $25 and waiting at the carousel, right? The new space bins, and they're adding them to the 737, which is like the most popular, most flown airplane there is. These new bins will hold 50% more bags, which means you won't have to worry about that idiot crushing your bag with the overstuffed refrigerator box he should have checked. The key was making the bin big enough to insert a bag on its side rather than on its back. They also moved the lower edge down 2 inches, making it easier to reach. It tweaked the balance, making the whole thing easier to shut. The close assist mechanism, which adds weight, is now unnecessary. So that's going to make things easier and make airlines like it more. Travelers who've tried the new system seem impressed. Boarding will be quicker. I won't have to help my girlfriend load her bags because she can reach the bins. Changing the size of the compartment is easy. Make it bigger. The tricky part is doing that without encroaching on the already limited space for humans. So they went through all kinds of things. The space bins will cut headroom by about 2 inches. Boeing swears that's a good thing. The overhead light and venting will be easier to reach. So yeah, think about it. Nobody's so tall that they're hitting their head on that thing, almost ever, right? I mean, probably some people will have to be seated in some kind of special thing. The way some rotund people have to be made accommodations for, we'll have to find accommodations for that. But that's the future of baggage, and it's going to be more room for you, more room for your bag if it's on its side. All right. And finally, the worst word, the worst food to eat on an airplane. JetBlue has actually reminded passengers that eating this food makes you a horrible person if you're doing it on one of their flights. What do you smell? What's that food you smell? Let's switch to the article and let JetBlue tell you, because from consumerist.com, eating tuna on a plane makes you a horrible person. This from April of this year. 60% of people think it's rude for passengers to bring stinky food on a plane. The airline has actually released an etiquette video calling out eaters of smelly foods. Let's just see. How long is this? 1 minute. Flight etiquette. I already like it. Oh, shit. You can see the can there. Oh, not to pack a snack. She's got earplugs in her nose. Get out that six sack. I'm surprised nobody's gotten the vomit bag out, because this is pretty vile.
So hungry. Oh, yes.
Oh, God. What the fuck is that? Wait, I talked over it. I want to see the end. What's your flight etiquette? Brought to you by JetBlue. All right, that's a good video right there. A JetBlue passenger cracks open a can of tuna, resulting in everybody around him wished he'd be sucked out the emergency exit. Yeah, so... And here's a 4-minute video with Patrick Stewart talking about the most annoying people on the plane.
We flew to Dallas on Sunday, and then we flew right back late last night. It was a quick trip, so this resonated with me in particular. The first category of offender is Chatty Charlie. This is the guy who will talk to you nonstop during the flight.
Don't do that. Yes.
Hello. Hello, what's your name? Where are you from? What is it you do? My name is Patrick. I'm English. Like the muffins. I've read that book. She dies in the end.
Oh, asshole.
Oops. Spoiler alert.
What they call the stinky snacker. You know him well. This is the guy who brings his own messy, disgusting food on board.
I'm feeling a little peckish. Time for a day-old tuna sub. And a slice of camembert. Delicious. Would you like to try it? What about you, Tom? You can have both if you can suit yourselves.
All right.
He doesn't ask if he just goes.
The sea climber. Oh, yeah.
Time to go to the loo. To the loo I go. Oh, oops. I'm so sorry. Pardon. So sorry.
I want to see what the last two are.
This might be the worst one. The seat kicker. This is a person who cannot or will not control his leg. This is the person that keeps kicking and kicking the back of your seat.
This Tyler Perry movie is so funny. I can't help kicking the seat in front of.
All right.
Into spontaneous
the landing
applause
clapper. All right.
The moment the plane touches down.
Bravo! Bravo! Well done! Wasn't it a glorious landing? Splendid stuff. Encore! Encore! Let's go up again!
You know, Jimmy Kimmel produces some excellent shit, I gotta say. My thanks for Kayak for chiming in. He had one more comment that he'd said that I already forgot. Oh, yeah. They're going to make airline sickness bags bigger by 50%. And he says for no extra charge. So you have that to look forward to in your upcoming flight. As always, you can text me here, 310-776-Coons. As always, you can tweet me here at Sebastian Coons. That is the evening. Tomorrow night, hey, join me for Game Show Tuesday. I've been hanging out with my buddy Chris. I've mentioned him on Game Show Tuesday before. He's kind of my game show buddy. He's the one guy I know who knows more about game shows than me, and he knows so much more about game shows than me. He's like an expert. He's like Sheldon Cooper for game shows. So I have a notepad full of like new game show, old weird pilots of game shows that never made it. That'll be fucking awesome. Do not miss tomorrow night. We usually go 90 minutes instead of 60 on Game Show Tuesday. And even if you can't be here live, join me on tape. The show is always available at youtube.com/Sebastian Central. As always, make it a great Monday night. Make it a great Tuesday. We'll see you Tuesday night. This is cBas After Dark. Hello, my name is Patrick.